The fourth piece of evidence when supporting evolution is molecular biology. Earlier this year, we studied that proteins are coded from our DNA. Our DNA gets transcribed into messenger RNA, and then our messenger RNA leaves the nucleus, goes to the ribosome, where it is translated into a protein. Evidence for evolution on the basis of molecular biology is looking at organisms that have greater similarity in the molecules that they actually are able to make, which indicates a greater similarity in their DNA. The more closely two organisms are in their DNA would indicate that they have a more recent common ancestor, or therefore are more closely related. In this activity, we're going to use a protein known as Cytochrome C. It's found in the mitochondria, and it is a very popular protein to use when we're studying molecular biology and when we're studying evidence of evolution. Cytochrome C is made of 104 amino acids joined together, and below I've given you a chart of those amino acids, and so we're indicating those amino acids as letters. Don't worry about what the letter stands for. It just is the sequence of amino acids. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to go through, and I'm going to do one with you, okay? We're going to go through, and you see the first row is the human. And so let's do, I just want to go through and kind of look. So this is the human. So those are all the amino acids in the human, and then it continues down here as well. Okay, so those are the amino acid sequence in the human. What you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to indicate every amino acid that is different from the human. So we're just going to do the chicken to start with, okay? And so you go through the chicken and you'll see that Q in chicken at 42 is also Q in human. AA, EP. So there's your first difference. F is different than Y. SS is the same. DNA is different. Those are all the same. Now we'll come down here. The T is different than the I. GG, EE, DD, TT. Here's another difference. AA, TT. Here's a difference. And then here's also another difference. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the total number of differences. So a chicken in the cytochrome C protein has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 differences. And so I will go ahead and I will mark down here where it says chicken, and I will say that there are 7 differences. All right. You're just going to go through and you will do that with each of these organisms. What you're going to find is that the organism that has the fewest differences means it has the greatest similarity in the protein or in that molecule. Therefore, the DNA of those two organisms also have greater similarity, which is an indication of relatedness. And so at the end of this whole activity, what I'm asking you guys to do is go ahead and you're going to answer some conclusion questions. Number 1, Charles Darwin published his book On the Origin of Species in 1859. Of the different types of evidence that you have examined, these 4 types of evidence, which do you think he relied upon the most and why? So for example, the molecular biology, the molecular evidence, which actually has given us probably the greatest amount of evidence today, Charles Darwin couldn't rely on that because he had no idea. We didn't understand DNA. It wasn't until the 1950s that we even figured out the structure of DNA. And so in Charles Darwin's time, we didn't understand DNA. And so that definitely would not have been the evidence that he most relied on. Today we find evidence, and when it is the same, for example, we have homologous structures in our anatomy, and we find greater homology in our embryos, and now in addition, those embryos that share greater similarities and the two organisms that share greater similarities in anatomy, we also are finding they also have greater molecular biology or homology in molecules. Those are 3 lines of evidence that we can lay on top of each other to support the same outcome of relatedness. So question 2 in the conclusion asks, you claim that birds, so the chicken, you could go back and look through the evidence, and modern day reptiles, turtles and tortoises would be closely there, are reptiles, both evolved from dinosaurs, prehistoric reptiles, and are closely related. I want you to use at least 3 pieces of evidence, specifically from our activity, to clearly support your claim. Please write in full sentences, free from grammatical errors. So this is going to require a little bit of thought. You're going to go back to, is it the fossils are you going to use? Are you going to use comparative anatomy? Are you going to use the embryos? And are you going to use the cytochrome C? Go ahead and make sure that you include 3 pieces of evidence that support your claim. Birds and modern day reptiles both evolved from prehistoric reptiles, or birds and reptiles are closely related. What's your evidence to support that? Good luck, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed learning about evidence of evolution.